What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles on my way to hitting Legend rank in the Championship Series Cup, where just a few days ago at the start of this league rotation, I was all the way down in the 2300s, having not even reached Veteran rank yet for the season. Now, there have been a lot of complaints about this meta, that it's way too condensed and that you just can't compete if you don't have both Oranguru and Turtonator, but this video is going to prove that you really don't need to follow the crowd and run the same Pokemon everyone else is running to have success. You can be really creative and run a team full of anti-meta picks and then absolutely blitz through the ranks because there just aren't that many Pokemon that you have to cover for. Now, a few days ago I showcased this same backline of Rapidash and Raichu, and I mentioned in that video that my initial plan was to run Zoroark in the lead. However, for whatever reason it was banned during those first few days of the cup, but once it was available I threw it straight into the team and went from the 2600s all the way to 3042 elo in just 11 sets. Now obviously this is a very glassy team and all three Pokemon kind of need shields, but all three Pokemon are also capable of sweeping full teams. So it really just comes down to team reading and identifying which Pokemon is going to be the best option to invest shields into for each game. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What has been the most successful team you've used this season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. So go into the first battle, leading Zoroark into Goodra. So of course, Dragon Breath this season, not exactly the hardest hitting fast move, however, up against Zoroark, it kind of looks like it is, still dealing the same damage of last season. Anyways, going to swap out there, catching an Aqua Tail onto my Rapidash, and the opponent's going to come in with a Glalie. Now at this point, I'm going to full send a Wild Charge. Wild Charge does huge damage, and the opponent trying to throw it on good timing there is going to allow me to reach a Body Slam, and Body Slam is going to grab a shield. At this point, the opponent has farmed up to back-to-back charge moves. I assume they will blind throw the Avalanche straight away, so I'm actually going to come in with my Alolan Raichu because now we can get a full Volt Switch in for free. Of course, the opponent goes for another Avalanche there. We can now commit to a full farm down. You see, for this first battle, I am running Trailblaze. Eventually, I did swap it out for Wild Charge, but since we got Trailblaze here, I'm going to go ahead, boost up my attack stat. Not really dealing that much damage into Medicham, but that's okay. At this point, I will be no shielding, and now I'm actually just going to bank the energy, come in with the Zoroark. I can shield once, and the opponent probably not even going to be able to swap out of this matchup here. We can commit to a full farm down, coming out with so much energy. And you know what? We're just going to full send the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball, not respected. It gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into the next battle. I'm going to see Zoroark into Trevenant. This is a really tricky Pokemon for me to deal with. I'm forced to stay in here, taking huge damage from the Sucker Punches. We can fire off the Foul Play. I will grab a shield advantage. However, my backline is really not well suited to take on a Trevenant. Of course, we come in with the Rapidash, as I can hit for neutral damage with the Fairy Winds, also taking neutral damage from the Sucker Punches. And because they're on Sucker Punch, this is just going to be another Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb is neutral. I'm now going to look to overfarm here. Fire off a Body Slam before they can go for a third Seed Bomb. Body Slam gets the KO. They're now going to come in with a Psycho Cut Medicham. So I'm going to farm up to very close to back-to-back Wild Charges. Wild Charge, gotta be no shielded. And at this point, we've got a Wild Charge loaded. So I'm actually going to shield this, then swap into my Raichu. The opponent is going to swap out, but they swap into Shadow Gyarados. We get the full farm down before they even reach a charge move. We've got back-to-back Side Shocks here, and we've got a charge move on the Rapidash. This is certainly game over, but the opponent trying to play to that win condition anyways. Side Shock gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into the next battle. We're going to see Zoroark into Alolan Raichu. So, a great lead matchup for the Zoroark. The opponent's going to say swap into a Shadow Dragon Breath Charizard. We can come in with the Raichu. I'm happy to shield once here, even if they bait me, which they do bait with the Air Cutter. Doesn't matter, they don't reach a second charge move. And now, of course, they're probably going to come back in with their own Raichu. We can farm up here, fire off a Side Shock. Side Shock is going to hit for resisted damage, so will the Wild Charge, but I don't want to debuff myself here straight away. We then throw on CMP, winning CMP, and Wild Charge is going to grab a shield. At this point, definitely going to let the Raichu go down. Wild Charge gets the KO there. I assume they're going to swap out immediately, so I actually come in straight away with the Rapidash, so I can get ahead on energy. The opponent going to fire off the charge move. The opponent is going to go ahead and go for a Trailblaze, boosting up their attack stat, but that's fine with me. I'm full sending Wild Charge. Wild Charge, going to grab the final shield. I'm going to go ahead and throw a second Wild Charge here. Wild Charge, going to deal big damage. We we swap back into Zoroark. And as long as the opponent isn't able to make a catch, I should be fine, and they shouldn't be able to catch because, of course, they're running Confusion. That's a 4-turn fast move. We go for 1 Shadow Claw, go for Foul Play, and now we can just commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there, into the next battle, another Alolan Raichu in the lead, and this time the opponent is choosing to stay in here, and you can see these Volt Switches actually do quite a lot of damage. It's pretty much neck and neck when it comes to fast move pressure here, so at this point, we do grab a shield. I'm going to use my shield straight away as they fire off a Trailblaze, but then they swap into a Dugong. I'm going to come in with the Raichu, and I'm going straight for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge, are they going to respect it? No, it gets the one shot there. They come in with a Shadow Dusclops. This is a bit tricky for me, but they are now going to commit to a full farm down. Wild Charge, going to grab the final shield, but they do come out with a ton of energy. If they're running Poltergeist, then this could be very problematic for me, but I'm going to come in and just no-shield the first charge move here. The opponent is going to go ahead and go for that Shadow Punch that does huge damage, but we do force them to throw, and at this point, Zoroark is going to be my win condition here. All I need to do is go for a charge move, but I think I do need to overfarm just slightly. I need to be 1 away from my next charge move here, but I'm actually 3 away. So at this point, I needed to live a Volt Switch, and we've already seen this. Volt Switch does big damage. We actually don't get there. They're able to get the farm down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there, into the next battle. We've got a mirror match here leading into Zoroark, and Zoroark is definitely the worst Pokemon for my backline to deal with. Luckily, I didn't see too many of them, but we are going to go for a foul play here. Don't really know who is... Oh, what the hell? What even happened to me there? I feel like I glitched out. I don't know who wins CMP in this matchup, and the opponent isn't going to allow me to know who wins CMP here, as they make a very nice catch there, catching a foul play. So what I'm going to do, bank another foul play, and then swap into my Raichu. Now, Togetic could have a bunch of different charge moves here, but I should be able to sponge damage from any one move. They go for an Ancient Power. I'm going to throw on CMP with the next charge move here, as a second Ancient Power would come very close to taking me out. At this point, I'm actually just going to no-shield this. Ancient Power doesn't quite KO, but they can Fairy Wind farm me down. But we've also put them into range where Rapidash can come in and also go for that Fairy Wind farm down, and we are very close to a charge move already. They're going to come in with Dugong here. They're going to swap back into Zoroark, and they do fire off the charge move, but that's fine with me. Shadow Ball is going to grab my final shield. I'm going to bank 2 wild charges there, fire off the foul play. Foul play gets the KO. 1 more Ice Shard gets the full farm down, but now I can just throw back-to-back moves here. First wild charge is going to deal huge damage. The second wild charge will be more than enough damage to take out this Dugong, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there, into the next battle. We're going to see Togetic in the lead. So, I'm going to stay in this lead matchup as they don't have that much fast move pressure, and then I will eventually swap out, trying to catch maybe a Psyshock or something, but the opponent not going to throw. Once again, Rapidash is the bulkiest member of this team, so I'm going to no-shield this, just an Ancient Power, which is fine with me, and they come in with Turtonator. Now, Turtonator is definitely the most difficult Pokemon for me to deal with this team because, well, this is a very anti-meta team. It specifically targets a ton of Pokemon in this meta, but Turtonator is basically the one Pokemon where I don't actually have positive matchups in any of the 3 Pokemon, but either way, we can chip a ton with our Rapidash. Then come in, we've already got a Foul Play banked. Foul Play grabs a final shield, and we've got 2 shields here, but I'm going to save them both for my Alolan Raichu. That doesn't quite KO there, which is unfortunate. However, we can still come in, and we do get off 2 Volt Switches as they fire off the Brutal Swing. They're now going to come in with a Shadow Dusknoir, which is very tricky for the Raichu, but with Wild Charge, we can get the full one-shot. They come back in with a Togetic, and they will be firing off the move here. Of course, I'm going to shield this as they fire off the Ancient Power. They get the boost, but it doesn't matter as this is a Wild Charge. Wild Charge gets the KO, and we can come in, Shadow Claw, farm them down with the Zoroark, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there, into the next battle, and actually going up against fellow content creator Yonkus. You might have already seen this battle on his channel. I don't think he realized he was going up against me because he didn't mention it in the video at all, so feels bad, man. Didn't even get recognized. But anyways, I'm going to go for a wild charge here. So far, a bit of a tricky team for me to deal with, leading with a Turtonator, then coming in, hard punishing the Rapidash with the Shadow Dusknoir. But the good thing about Rapidash is that we do, of course, force a shield with that wild charge. Then I'm going to fire off a Shadow Punch. I'm going to shield that because even though it's resisted damage, Zoroark cannot really tank that. too well. So here, we farm up, we throw on CMP, and I'm actually going to go ahead and full send a Shadow Ball. Now, I actually didn't realize I was going up against Yonkis whilst I was doing this battle. It was only till after when we got the friendship bonus for battling each other that I was like, oh, that was Yonkis. But anyways, we're going to come in with the Raichu, and we do still have play here. I don't know what their third Pokemon is just yet, but it turns out it's going to be Zoroark, and I make a huge mistake here. I'm going for Wild Charge. Bro, I'm using Zoroark. I know how glassy this Pokemon is. I could have just settled for a Psyshock, and as a result, I could have got to a second Psyshock, one CMP up against the Turtonator, and I actually could have won that game, despite, of course, kind of being a triple hard counter to my team. But anyways, GG's to Yonkis there into the next battle, and now we are doing the hard countering. We lead into Shadow Dusknoir. The opponent going to stay in this matchup here, and if they're staying in, they're probably double weak to Zoroark, so I'm happy to shield once, commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent is thinking about it. They come in with a Turtonator on Ember. So here, I'm full sending the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is unfortunately shielded. So at this point, I'm just going to go for a foul play. Obviously, they should know this is a foul play, so they do no-shield this time around. But now we come in with a Rapidash. Likewise, I'm going to no-shield this. But they're actually on Overheat. That is, I think, the only Turtonator I faced running Overheat, and that is going to be costly for me as it completely one-shots the Rapidash. But they're now debuffed in their attack stat, so I can tank a Brutal Swing pretty comfortably as well here. And I'm going to look to throw a Psyshock straight away. Psyshock is going to grab the final shield, so at this point, I'm also going to shield this. The opponent going to go for another Brutal Swing there before swapping into a Glalie. Now, I'm going to swap out, catch the Avalanche onto my Zoroark, and this should now allow me to farm up to back-to-back charge moves. So, of course, going to go for 2 Volt Switches, maximizing the energy generation. Wild Charge coming through, gets the one-shot there. We've got a Psyshock already loaded as well, and of course, Psyshock up against Turtonator from that range, gets the KO. And I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We're going to see a Talonflame in the lead. Didn't really see this Pokemon too much. Saw it quite a bit at the start of the meta, but kind of faded out in popularity. But either way, we're going to go for a foul play here. Foul play is going to grab a shield advantage, and now we come in with the Rapidash. And the opponent's going to allow me to reach a Wild Charge. They're at 100 energy, but if they don't shield, we get the KO. We completely get rid of all of that energy. You love to see it. But now here, I don't know why I didn't throw a charge move here. So I'm going to shield the Brutal Swing. This does now give the opponent the opportunity to fully Confusion farm me down if they want to double shield, or potentially they can actually live a Wild Charge anyways, which they do. But we throw a Body Slam here. I think that was a CMP tie this time around, and it gets the KO. Their final Pokemon going to be a Goodra, so I swap out straight away there, and we are now going to no-shield the first charge move as we can tank an Aqua Tail, and it doesn't quite put us into range where they can Dragon Breath farm me down before I reach back-to-back Psyshocks. So Psyshock is going to be no-shielded there. We are fairly low on the Zoroark, so I'm actually not entirely sure if I can fast move farm them down before they fast move farm me down with the Dragon Breath. So here, I'm going to go for Psyshock. I then swap out into Zoroark, and the opponent can outpace me to the charge move. This is looking very dicey for me, but Rapidash is a fairy type Pokemon. We're going to double resist the Dragon Breath damage, and we're actually able to farm them down there. Didn't look like that was going to be possible, but I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into the next battle. I'm going to see Oranguru in the lead. So, I'm going to stay in this matchup initially, bank a foul play there, because if I stay in and throw that charge move, I've already taken 3 Confusions worth of damage, and that will get Zoroark very low. So, actually, going to swap out there. They're going to come in with a Shadow Gligar. Pokemon I also didn't really see too much in this meta. Kind of makes sense because it is going to be a decent counter to Oranguru, but also it's going to be non-stab Fury Cutters, non-stab Night Slashes. So, even though it is super effective, it's not really going to add up that much. But anyways, the opponent's going to double shield here, but we've got a foul play loaded, so all of our energy once again going to be completely wasted on the Shadow Gligar. We get the KO with the foul play. I'm now going to swap into my Raichu here. Accidentally threw 2 Shadow Claws before swapping, but I also ended up getting a Volt Switch through on the swap anyway, so don't really know what happened there. But either way, we're going to go for a Wild Charge. Wild Charge is going to get the KO, and the opponent's final Pokemon going to be a Togekiss, which is a hard counter for the Raichu, and so I'm able to take that game. Into the next battle, speaking of Togekiss, going to see it in the lead matchup here. So once again, going to stay in, going to swap out, trying to catch a Psyshock. However, Don't really know what the secondary charge move is going to be in this matchup. Sometimes they're on Psyshock, sometimes they're on Ancient Power, some of them may be running Dazzling Gleam, I don't really know. But either way, we do no shield there. They come in with the Dust Noir, we get to a Wild Charge and a Body Slam. However, if they have been counting, they can correctly no shield. Now, this is a non-Shadow Dust Noir, so maybe I could have just committed to a full farm down, but I'm taking no risks, going for foul play straight away. We swap straight away into the Raichu, and we've already seen Psyshock here, so this is going to be an Aura Sphere, which is also resisted. It does do slightly more damage there. They're going to come in with a Medicham, and I'm going to go straight for a Psyshock. Psyshock going to deal decent damage. I'm going to shield this, and then I think, again, I will be swapping straight away into my Zoroark as soon as I'm able to. So, of course, not quite able to swap out just yet, so I will go for another Psyshock. Psyshock grabs the shield. We now swap into Zoroark. Now, remember, Togekiss does still have some residual energy, I believe, so they're going to swap back into it, but I'm able to outpace them, fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play, not going to be shielded, as the opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do anymore, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top end there into the next battle. Another great lead matchup for the Zoroark, leading into the Shadow Dust Noir. They're going to say swap into Dugong, and I am going to, unfortunately, just be slightly outpaced here, but that's fine. They full send the drill run, which is huge for me, meaning, of course, once I go for a Wild Charge here, I'm not going to be debuffed, and I should be able to grab a shield back from the Dust Noir coming back in. So, of course, I go for Wild Charge there intentionally because I want to debuff my defense, meaning they don't get that much farm when they come in and farm me down anyways, and now here, I can outpace. I can go straight for Foul Play. Foul Play is going to grab the final shield. However, I'm getting dangerously close to range where a Shadow Punch will KO. However, they actually go for the Dynamic Punch there, so that's fine with me. Their final Pokemon going to be a Togetic, and I do have a pretty simple win condition here. All I need to do, farm up to back-to-back Wild Charges before throwing, and it will be game over. There is literally nothing the opponent can do. Except for some reason, I go for Body Slam. I didn't realize I farmed up to back-to-back, so I just went for the charge move I knew I definitely had. And as a result, we don't quite get the farm down there. We also just barely miss out on reaching a charge move. Honestly, another very winnable game. I just clicked on the wrong charge move. Don't really know what was happening there. But anyways, GG to that trainer. And you can see, like, honestly, like, I won a lot of games with this team, but the games I lost were still very winnable for me. So, yeah, honestly, such a great team that I do recommend. Obviously, if you're not comfortable running 3 Glass Cannon Pokemon, then maybe this isn't the team for you. But if you do feel comfortable running a triple Glass Cannon team, then I highly recommend it. But anyways, we go for Wild Charge there. Unfortunately, they debuff my attack stat with an Icy Wind, so it doesn't quite KO. But we now come in with the Raichu, and the opponent's actually going to swap out into Shadow Gyarados, and we can, of course, go for a farm down. They will reach an Arctotail here, which is fine. I'm going to shield this. And the fact they swap straight away into Gyarados probably implies that they've got a second flying type Pokemon in the back. So at this point, I'm just going to shield this. They go for a Crunch. Absolutely fine with me. Their final Pokemon, going to be a Charizard. And so my read there was correct. So now we can go for back-to-back Wild Charges. The opponent recognizing they have to no-shield the first charge move. And I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Metang in the lead. So, a great lead matchup for me. Going to resist the Fury Cutter damage. They say swap into Turtonator. And again, I don't have a great response here. So, we're going to come in with the Rapidash, banking some energy on the Zoroark. I don't really need Switch Advantage just because my Raichu is also going to resist all the charge moves from the Metang. So, it's actually not that bad. But anyways, we're going to go for a Body Slam here. Body Slam going to be shielded. And now we can go for a second Body Slam. And remember, Zoroark did leave with a Foul Play loaded, so they do get the full farm down there, but that's okay with me. We can come back in with a Zoroark and go straight for the Foul Play. Foul Play probably going to grab the final shield here as the opponent is going to look to unload some of their energy, but that's fine with me because I can actually shield this and I can still reach another Foul Play on the CMP tie here. I mean, potentially what I could have done is shielded and gone for a full farm down, but Foul Play gets the KO. They're going to have a Talonflame in the back, and here we've got the Raichu. I'm actually going to no-shield this as the opponent is going to go ahead and Psyshock me, which gets me probably lower than I thought. So now I'm going to go for an undercharge. Of course, Wild Charge won't KO. The opponent is deliberately not attacking here because they don't want to give a huge farm down. So I'm going to go for a farm down. They start attacking at the perfect moment, but it doesn't really matter. It's not going to help them as now we can come in with a Zoroark. Could have opted for a single more Shadow Claw, but it doesn't matter. Shadow Ball easily takes out Talonflame, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into the next battle. You see Turtonator in the lead. So, they're on Incinerate. So, I'm going to go for five Shadow Claws there. Swap out, catch the Brutal Swing onto my Rapidash. And the opponent is going to stay in with the Turtonator. So, I don't want to throw on bad timing here. I'm actually going to shield this. And if they're staying in with the Turtonator, then I feel like they're probably still just going to stay in here. Commit to a full Incinerate farm down. But we can go for Body Slam. And because I have shielded, because I farmed up so much energy, we end up grabbing a shield back from the opponent. We go for another Body Slam there. We're one away from the next charge move, but we're probably not going to get damage registration error. So instead, we swap back into Zoroark. We grab the final shield. And at this point, I'm happy to let Brutal Swing go through here. Of course, if they are going to go for an extra Incinerate, the Rapidash being one away means we can actually get to that charge move and take out the Turtonator. So it was definitely a bit difficult to get rid of this Pokemon. But now, of course, we've got Alolan Raichu. We might be able to sweep this game here. But instead of throwing straight away, going for that Wild Charge, I'm going to shield this. The opponent is going to go ahead and bait with an Icy Wind. And now at this point, I didn't know if a Psyshock would put them into 1 Volt Switch farm down range, so I go for the Wild Charge, but because I'm debuffed here, I have to go for back-to-back Psyshocks. Wild Charge won't KO, but likewise, 2 Psyshocks now, unfortunately, won't quite take out the Glalie there. So, of course, if I knew it was going to be Glalie in the back, probably would have just gone straight for the Wild Charge up against the Dugong, knowing that Glalie doesn't have much fast speed pressure, but either way, GG's to that trainer. Into next battle, we're going to see a shiny Gyarados in the lead. Going to say swap into my Rapidash, and the opponent is going to throw an Aqua Tail. Of course, I'm double resisting the non-stab Dragon Breath damage. They're going to come in with a Rangaroo, and typically I do just go straight Wild Charge in this matchup. However, I'm going to go for a Body Slam first, and then I tried to throw on CMP. The opponent does not throw straight away, and as a result, Wild Charge grabs a shield, and then I don't actually reach another Wild Charge either. So definitely, this is probably the worst I've played out this matchup here, but we do still get them fairly low with that Body Slam. Now, I'm going to come in with the Raichu. I'm happy to double shield and then just commit to a full farm down. I already know it has a great matchup into the Gyarados, so it just depends what their final Pokemon is. They go for back-to-back Brutal Swings, and now they come in with a Glalie. So at this point, gonna fire off the Wild Charge here. Wild Charge going to be no-shielded, and now I swap into Zoroark. The opponent is forced to throw straight away. However, what this does is put them into range where we can come back in with the Raichu, commit to a full farm down. Still slightly tricky here as the opponent can try and make a catch onto their Rangaroo, but actually, I don't intend on throwing any charge moves yet. They swap back into a Rangaroo, and now we've got back-to-back Psyshocks. The first one, of course, gonna grab the final shield here, and they might be at the Aqua Tail, but it doesn't matter. We win CMP. Psyshock number 2 gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top in there into the next battle. You see Zoroark into Altaria. So, not the best matchup for me. I will just be safe swapping straight away into my Rapidash as I am resisting the Dragon Breath damage. They're going to stay in here, so clearly don't have a direct response to Rapidash. So, going to chip with the Sky Attack before swapping into their own Alolan Raichu. But we've got so much energy here. Going to go for a Body Slam. Body Slam actually grabs a shield, as of course we could have access to Mega Horn or High Horsepower. The opponent going to double shield the Raichu, and we still get to another charge view. So, this time, actually going to go for a Wild Charge here, as it will do a little bit more damage than a Body Slam despite being resisted. But now we can come in with the Zoroark. If they Side Shock here, they should be able to reach back-to-back charge moves. So I'm going to swap into my own Raichu, but the opponent comes in with their Rangaroo. Unfortunately, they get a 0-turn swap, whereas my swap does take 1 turn, so they're actually 1 ahead of me. And now I'm going to look to throw on CMP, the opponent recognizing they can probably just barely tank this. But likewise, we also just barely tank the confusion damage. They're forced to throw. Now we can come in with the Zoroark, and as long as the opponent doesn't make a catch here, and we can get rid of the Altaria before they do grab a shield with Sky Attack, I should be fine, as Shadow Ball gets the KO there. We Shadow Claw, farm down the Raichu, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top there into the final battle of this video. Going to lead into Turtonator, so we're going to stay in this matchup once again on Incinerate. So I will be swapping out, trying to make the catch. This time does not work out for me. However, they're going to stay in with the Turtonator. So, going to go for a Body Slam. Body Slam is going to be no-shielded, and already we got the Turtonator very low. At this point, they farmed up to back-to-back Brutal Swings, so I will now shield this as they fire off the next one, but I can outpace to another Body Slam. So Body Slam going to be coming through here. Body Slam going to be shielded, but now we can reach, well, actually, very nice play on the opponent's end as they snipe me with the Dugong, but I'm reading this is the same team we just lost to a few battles ago, so this time, we're not playing it the same way. We full send the Wild Charge, we get the KO, and it is the same team. And now, of course, we're going to full send another Wild Charge. Wild charge is going to be shielded this time around here. The opponent is going to overfarm just a little bit here. I believe they're one away from a second avalanche, which we don't quite have the energy for a Shadow Ball. However, I'm predicting the opponent is going to swap out straight away. Of course, Zoroark going to win CMP, so we just wait to see the typing icon in the top right corner. And as a result, Foul Play gets the KO. I can now outpace them. Of course, Foul Play from this range should take them out. But you know what? We can go for Shadow Ball. It easily gets the KO. And I'm able to take that game. So there we go, we actually went 5-0 on our final set before hitting Legend. Gonna get an excellent throw on the Lullaby, and there you go, hitting Legend 30-42 Elo. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.